Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Aditi Sharma from the Global Wildlife Fair team. Through these webinar series, Global Wildlife Fair brings speakers from around the world to share insights on key ecological and conservation related topics. Today's session explores how human presence, often through small, everyday action, ripples across ecosystems, impacting wildlife, habitats, and livelihoods. In this webinar, we move beyond single species conservation to understand interconnected systems across land and sea. We are pleased to welcome Nidhi Aggarwal, a wildlife researcher with experience across terrestrial and marine ecosystems, who will be leading today's session. I now invite Ms. Aggarwal to begin.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. And could you please confirm if background noise is too much?
No, not too much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Nidhi Aggarwal, and I'm a wildlife researcher. And I've worked in various domain in various field within wildlife, from Himalayas to zoos to marine. So I'll go section by section. First, I'll discuss about Himalayan ecosystem, my work related to Himalayas, and then slowly we'll move to zoos, and then we'll move to marine ecosystem. Could we go to next slide, please? Next slide. So first, I'll discuss about my work in Himalayas. I had opportunity twice to work in Himalayas, one in Himachal Pradesh in 2021 with Wildlife Institute of India. And that is the time where I got introduced to wildlife as a career option. And then second one is recently, it's based on my master's thesis, where I was studying the traditional agriculture practices and pollinator diversity in Rudraprayag. Next slide, please. So, in Himachal Pradesh, my work was to study the foraging behavior of Indian honeybee, that is Epicerana indica, in plum orchards in Kullu Valley, from lowest possible elevation where plum orchards are present, that is Jhiri, to the highest elevation where the orchards are present. And we selected different sites. First, like, be it near the agriculture site, be it a isolated orchard, or a cluster of orchards, but not towards or not near to the agriculture site. So did my this work as my bachelor's internship with like while studying in Amity University, and I did it in collaboration with Wildlife Institute of India. Next slide, please. So this is how we used to collect the data. Here you can see there are three colors of balls hanging on the branch of plum tree, and these bowls contains water which has soap, liquid detergent or liquid soap, so that the density of water could increase and we can easily trap animals, insects, not animals, sorry, insects, to understand what diversity of insects are there which come to this plant, and also if there is any other insects other than honeybee which are foraging on this plant. Here you can see like on this middle photo, there I was collecting data, and I used to collect two types of data. One is in 3 minutes, how many trees or how many plants one particular honeybee is visiting. And on the other hand, I used to collect data that one particular bee is visiting how many flowers. If you see on the right side, you could see on the right, there are three bowls: yellow, white, and blue. You could see there is less, the blue color bowl is less efficient because it is not as efficient in collecting or attracting insects as yellow or white are. So, this upper photograph is from an orchard which is present isolated, like there is no agricultural land nearby. How we would know this? Because this white color has more number of insects and more diversity of insects than the yellow one. And why it is so? Because white color of this ball resembles the white color flower of plum. On the other hand, if you see the right bottom, you could see more number of insects in yellow color of ball. It is from the place where the orchards were present nearby the agricultural land. So it is just an hypothesis, like the represent like agricultural crops represent more yellow than white. That's why the agricultural land helps to attract more pollinators in, or more insects rather, in the yellow color ball. Next slide, please. So here is this honeybee. I put four photographs of honeybee because I was working on honeybee specifically, but also we were able to catch bumblebee and this butterfly. Next slide, please. So when we talk about wildlife, we don't only study about animals. We also study about flowers. We also study about plants. So when I was working on plum, so it is important to understand the morphology, or if morphology plays any kind of role in attracting specific insect, specific pollinator. So here is just the representation of morphological study. Next slide, please. So there are two key observations. Like I said, there were more number of insects in yellow color bowl where the orchard is present near the agricultural land, and in white bowl where the orchards are isolated near the highways. Second thing is through our study, we found that there are comparatively less number. And when I say number, it also relates to diversity of pollinators. For example, if we talk about the orchard which is present near isolated land or agricultural land, there we found more number of insects, more number of pollinators, and also the diversity. We found around 5 to 6 variety of hoverfly. Whereas if the orchard or the study area is present near the construction site, or the site where is more vehicular noise or noise pollution, any kind of noise pollution, because these insects are sensitive to noise. We found there are comparatively less number of insects, and also they are not as efficiently foraging as they would forage in areas which are away from the human construction, or like human related or anthropogenic disturbances. Next slide, please. So again, there is one key observation. Although more robust study needs to be done to study or to confirm this, what we found, like usually, flowering should happen at lower elevation, and it should move from lower elevation to the highest elevation. So in this scenario, this is entire Kullu Valley. It should technically start from Jiri, the lowest point, and then it should move towards this Parma University. Then it should go towards Sitarpur. But uh, during our study, what we found is initially there was flowering in the upper region, then somewhat in the lower middle region, then in lowest elevation, that is Jiri, and then in this upper middle region. So we all know that humans have accelerated the climate change, and we don't know in how many ways this climate change is and will affect humans. So what happens is, due to climate change, there is a disturbing pattern in of flowering. So flowering, which initially should happen in the lowest elevation, is happening at some other elevation, due to which the flowering of plum, or for that matter any flower, and the foraging activity of pollinators like honeybee or butterflies are not synchronized. And if they are not synchronized in the sense, if flowering and foraging are not happening at the same time, pollination will not happen. And if pollination is not happening, there will be no fruit. So what happens is, due to climate change, flowering is not in a particular format, or is not in a particular pattern, because of which foraging is also affected. And when flowering is not synchronized, there's no pollination. No pollination, no fruit. So no food, no fruit. It is affecting the individual orchard owner in terms of yield. They are getting the low yield despite putting so much of efforts. Second thing, plum is a perishable fruit. So it needs to be handled carefully and needs to be properly transported to the cities. When this plum is transported to the cities, because in cities the demand is high but the supply is very limited, these fruits become expensive. And because of they are expensive, they are not well purchased by the people who are in the cities. So a lot of fruit gets into waste. So it is affecting the economy at different level, at individual level in the Himalayas, and also the people who are selling these fruits in cities. They are affecting them also. So we can understand through this, or just get an idea how much important these species are, despite they are very small. And when we talk about wildlife, many a times people don't even consider them as wildlife. Most of the time, people think wildlife means tiger, lion, or all those charismatic species. But as a wildlife researcher, we also study the importance of such a small insect at various level, at ecological level, at economical level, and even for the biodiversity for that matter. Next slide, please. Second work, which was recently in 2025, was in Uttarakhand. There is this village called Ghimtoli in Rudraprayag district, where I was documenting the pollinator diversity, traditional agriculture practices, and also the reasons of decline of these agricultural practices, or for that matter, traditional practices or traditional knowledge. So if we look at Gimtoli, there the ecosystem is really rich in biodiversity or agrobiodiversity, but the issue is they are not documented. And until they are documented, we will not be able to conserve them, because we don't know what all species are there, what is the ecosystem there. So for that, it's just a very preliminary study that we did. Next slide, please. So for my study, I had three objectives. First, to document the pollinator diversity, which you can see at the bottom. There are few of the images from many species that we discovered there. On the upper left, it's the questionnaire to understand what agricultural practices, what traditional knowledge do they have, and why they are performing it. And on the upper right is the image where I'm interacting with college students and the youth there, to understand if they want to continue agriculture related practices, and what are the reasons of it. So they are doing some good practices, very good practices, but they are not doing it from a scientific point of view, but they are doing it because their ancestors are following. So for example, there is weed. There is one weed which we call wild daisy. So they don't plant wild daisy; it's just grow on its own because it's a weed. So they found, like, if wild daisy is there in their agricultural land, they get good yield. Many of them don't understand the concept of pollinators or insects as such, the importance of pollinators and pollination. but it's just their observation kind of thing. So next slide, please. So I was working on these three orders, and I found that still 76% of people are dependent wholly on manure. But because of climate change and because of many other factors, to increase the yield of their crops, they have to work on they started using fertilizers. So till now, they are using fertilizers only for wheat, and that is occasionally. But if the trend continues, if we don't document this traditional knowledge, if we don't bring out solution for the preservation or the conservation of this knowledge, they will definitely shift to using manure, which is again shift to using fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, which is again is a topic of concern. Next slide, please. So, in terms of career preferences, uh, most of the students don't want to pursue agricultural related careers, which is very fine, which is very logical, which is very understandable why they don't want to pursue the agriculture related careers. And most of them don't want to stay in village. Most of them want to move out of village. Again, they have a very genuine reason for that. So there is a need to look for out for a solution where people there, the youth there, could get a livelihood, could get motivated to earn or to get better lifestyle within within their village. So they don't have to move out of their village, or like there is a concern, there is an emotional baggage that they have to live away from their family, but they have to do that because of lifestyle thing. But what if we were able to, through policy, through better schemes, we were able to give similar lifestyles, similar facilities in their villages, so that they don't have to leave their families behind. Next slide, please. I'm sorry for background noises. So I presented it in different conferences. The left one is in Wildlife Institute of India, where I presented my work at the beginning of the project. The middle one is I presented during the mid project, and this one is the latest one where I just presented it on 28th of January, when my thesis, my analysis, and everything was done. Next slide, please. Then I'll come to my work with National Zoological Park. I was next slide, please. So I was involved in multiple roles. First was to organizing a training workshop. So on the left is the training workshop for the enclosure guards to understand or to know how to handle animals with precaution, because no matter if it is a crocodile or if it is a turtle, they need to be handled properly so that they don't get stressed or they don't attack so harshly. Then in the middle top is the image where we conducted a workshop with uh, Air Force officers, because there is increasing number of hit of avian fauna, that is birds, due to aircrafts. So we were discussing what are the issues and how what could be the solution and how we can come together to resolve this problem. So if you see, there are at multiple airports, there is a position where before every flight, there are people which shoo away the birds. It is just a kind of solution, but there's lot need to be done to avoid such incidences, such accidents, so that we would not lose important, crucial avian fauna. And at the right side is the tagging of birds. So we all know there are many birds which migrate. So if suppose this bird is tagged in Russia and the birders found them found it in Jamnagar. So it is a kind of it gives the understanding. Okay, this bird is traveling from Russia to Jamnagar, and if somebody in Africa found this bird, so it helps us to understand its migration pattern, in which month, in which season they are migrating, so that uh, Asian flyways could be preserved or could be conserved, so that we could decrease the number of such accidents, such aircraft hits. Next slide, please. So here we organized different workshops. This is Dr. K. K. Sarma. We organized workshop for related to elephants. And on the right is Dr. Karthik. He is the founder of Wildlife SOS. We conducted a workshop to train the guards, the enclosure guard, how to provide enrichment to bears. So it is very important, like if animal is in the enclosure, it is very important to provide them with the enrichment so that um, they are not they don't get affected mentally as such. Next slide, please. Apart from this, I used to study the behavior of samba deer. So this is a kind of data sheet we used to fill, like at what time we were doing the survey, what is the ratio of male, female, and young, and what are the activities they are doing, and if there is any other observations that we saw, so we could mention that. And one thing that I found is no matter we are in the wild or we are in zoo, I think we as human needs to understand that it's if we are going into the zoo, we are going to their places, and we have to maintain that decorum. Because while I was studying this species, with visitors used to come and they used to shout like. They used to make fun about this. Okay, this is sambar, where is dosa, where is idli. Okay, no issues. You have to if you want to make fun, you make fun, but at the same time you should understand the boundaries of the species. You should not shout. You should behave in a certain way. I've seen many visitors, they are putting their children on. We had two fence, one wooden fence and one another fence, but people used to put their children on those fences to get good pictures. So again, that is an issue. If we as humans should know that if we are visiting either in wild or in areas like zoos, we should understand and we should make distance and we should respect the boundaries of animal, because already they are in an enclosure with limited space, with limited food, with limited water, and still we are behaving in a very bad way, or we are shouting. That is not right. Next slide, please. Then my work in marine ecosystem. So I did this work with WWF India, where begin with working on mangroves. Then I worked on turtles and corals. Next slide, please. So initially, my work started with documentation of then ongoing mangrove nursery project in Kendrapada district of Odisha, where we grew these 11 species of mangroves in the nursery so that we can restore the coastal part of Odisha. And then I came up with this document. Next slide, please. Apart from mangroves, I worked on olive ridley turtles, where I was managing the field data from various sites in Odisha, in Gahirmatha and Roshakuldia. And we used to, like, the data we collected was the kind of data like total activity, number of eggs, the expected date of hatching, number of nest, what are the dimensions of the nest, and how many individuals hatched and able to reach to the ocean, and how many of individual hatched but not able to reach the ocean. Then again, I was looking for a drone imagery. So like we have line transect or vehicular transect on landscape. In seascape, what we do, we run drone to get different shots to understand the migration of olive ridley turtle just after they leave the beach, and to understand apart from these turtles, is there any other thing which is concerning, so that we could work on that and conserve olive ridley turtles while they are in their initial phase of migration in the oceans. Next slide, please. Then I worked on corals. For corals, I was collating coral fish data from these two islands, Malwan and Grande Island. And I was designing the questionnaire for divers to understand what kind of species they usually see while they dive. And is there any species which is regularly they find or rarely they find? And then the last one is to fish identification. Like I used to get data, fish images from the field, and then confirming which species it is by using different kind of data. So it's kind of making checklist and verifying it. Next slide, please. Then my work related to fisheries. Um, the BBNJ thing, I started with WWF, but my tenure get over. So I presented the paper in one of the conference in Gujarat, and then policy brief. It is related to fisheries related SDG targets, which is SDG target 14.4, which is sustainable fishing. Then 14.5, conserve coastal and marine areas. 14.6, which says end subsidies or the harmful subsidies which contribute to overfishing. And the target 14.B, which says support small scale fisheries. Next slide, please. So this is this BBNJ thing which I presented in Gujarat Maritime University in 2025. Yes. So it is like the importance of international agreements or international policies, and how we can align it with the national as well as state policy, because fisheries is very state specific thing. What challenges we are facing in Maharashtra could be different and will be different from that we are facing in Tamil Nadu or say Kerala. So uh, we need general policy or general rules and regulations at national level which aligns with global commitments, but also we need state specific policies. Next slide, please. So I attended two policy dialogues, first in Mumbai and then in Chennai, because for Mumbai, for Maharashtra related issues and state specific issues, and what could be the challenges and the possible solution for them. And second is for Tamil Nadu, where this dialogue happened in Chennai. Next slide, please. So this is a policy brief that recently got published in January 2026, which includes the insights from both state level policy dialogues that happened in Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. And we discussed the challenges in monitoring and reporting, and also the importance of monitoring and reporting related to coastal fisheries, and what could be the possible solution, and what are the institutions that could help us to bridge that gap. Next slide, please. Then my work related to high seas. It's again the work which I started in WWF and could not complete because my tenure get over. So I was working on an article where I have to write about deep seabed mining from India's perspective and why it is important for India. to achieve that success in like in deep seabed mining from geopolitical angles, from various angles, economic angle, and if India wants to become a self-reliant country or nation. So I worked on that angle. Next slide, please. And I presented it in National Institute of Oceanography in Goa in September 2025. Next slide, please. That's it. This is a QR scan for my LinkedIn profile if somebody wants to get in contact. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we have one question and I can just read it out to you. So Nishant has to ask, any difference that you have observed in nature of people towards biodiversity among different locations, especially between rural and urban scenario? What ways in which people can be made aware about being careful and respect the space that wildlife occupies, even if they are visiting these places as tourists?
So I would like to first verify if you are talking about a wild area or you are talking about the areas like zoos or some area like that. Both. So in areas like zoo, other thing is you should be careful and should be like you are visiting zoos for entertainment, right? You are like allowed to do that, but at the same time you have to follow some rules, like not do not shout, do not feed animals. And in terms of wild area, again, in like I've seen many people try to get close to animals just to get photos, just so that they can post on their Instagram. So there also, it is very important to maintain physical distance. So I've observed a difference in their nature, definitely, and it depends on their understanding. So people who are from urban areas have different understanding. People who are from rural areas have different understanding, because people who are from rural areas are living very close to and spending more time with these wild species as compared to urban area people. So rural people do understand things, they do maintain the distance, but at the same time people who are from urban background, they don't spend much time with animals, right? So for example, if you heard of incidences like leopard has entered to the urban area, so people get panic, and most of the time the news the headlines come as the leopard or the animal attacked the human. But actually what would happen, um animal came, right, no doubt, but it responded in its defense, because people shouted, people created such a panic around that situation. So there's a difference. And what if you have to answer what are the ways in which people can be made aware? First, they should not panic, they should not shout. And there is, like, I understand there is a situation of panic, but at the same time we should understand, if we shout, if we get panic, the animal would respond in defense, because animals see human as a threat if we are attacking it. So people could be made aware through social media, through games they can made aware of what to do, what not to do. And if we are visiting some national park or wildlife sanctuaries, at the interpretation center or at the beginning of the safari, there could be some do's or don'ts which people should follow. I hope uh, I have answered the question.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
Ma'am, I am Kirtika from the Global Wildlife Fair team,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to ask you how was your experience of exhibiting it with us during the fair?
During fair, I was invited as a speaker, and my topic was on wildlife career options and ecotourism options. So it was a really good experience, and I got to know people from different parts of Asia, and it was really good to interact with the people who want to pursue this thing, the career in wildlife conservation and ecotourism, but they don't understand the scope. So somehow I found myself in those situations when I started my career in wildlife conservation. So it was really good experience to interact with people and see that this field is gaining more attention, not in terms of the fancy thing, the nature thing only, but also people who actually want to conserve and they're looking for the options. So it was really nice.
Okay, so Pooja also has a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How can individuals, communities, or institutions realistically reduce their ecological footprint without major lifestyle changes?
So I'll go from individual to communities to institution. Okay. So from if we see from individual's point of view, it's a very small thing, like just try to put yourself in that place. For example, if you're visiting a place, be it in a wild or in zoo, so just try to understand if you would have on the other side, what would you have expect somebody else to behave like. For example, if you're visiting a zoo, right, you are limited in an enclosure, and you have limited food, you have limited timing of food, you have limited area to roam around. So imagine yourself in that situation and just behave like that. For example, you can people can relate it when they were in lockdown. So they were in their houses, they were in their limited areas. So obviously nobody wants somebody else to come and shout unnecessarily, right? So similarly, we have to behave individually. It is a very small thing just to think from other side's point of view. In terms of community, uh, community is again varies from place to place, and their perspective about the species or the wildlife. There are many communities which are against few species, and there are many communities which work for the species. So if we are talking about communities who work for the species, it is really it is very less efforts to make them understand the importance of the ecological footprint of. Is there something happen?
No, ma'am. You can
Okay,
continue.
okay. So in terms of communities, it becomes challenging because communities involve people at different level. So understanding um, them first as an individual and then as a community is really important, so that we can bring come up with the solutions which is community oriented. Because if you come up with a solution which does not involve community and which does not benefit the community, it is really difficult to continue the conservation or to reduce the footprints. So, and in terms of institutions, um, I think in terms of institutions, if they are educational institutions, like environment is like necessary subject, I think wildlife should be a component where people from the beginning get sensitized towards the wildlife, understand the importance of wildlife, not only the charismatic species but also wildlife at different levels, be it insect, be it snake, because snakes are also very important for the ecosystem, but people have different perspective. So if we talk about institutions, educational institutions should be taken into the consideration, and also if we talk about government institutions, so while making or designing the policies, I think experts should be taken more into the consideration, although they are taken into consideration while framing the policy brief. But more like more of them should be included so that the policymakers could design the a policy which is scientifically backed with data, with evidences. So that's it.
Okay, so Ajay also has a question for you.
Okay.
Well, he's saying that Nidhi, great work, all the very best. And could you please share your email ID or the LinkedIn slide again? So I can just share the LinkedIn slide again.
Yes, it's a QR scan there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so Joy also has a question. If is colony collapse still going on among bees?
Colony collapse. It again, it's a very site specific thing. In areas where the agricultural land is being, sorry, the forest areas or the agricultural land is converted. For example, in Himachal only, if I say, there because of lot of unregulated tourism, the areas, the forested areas, the agricultural areas is being converted into uh, accommodation or the homestays or restaurants. And even in 2021 during my studies, I have seen multiple places, like, which is not even uh, able to hold such a large homestay. They are being constructed. So if we say in about collapsing of colonies of bees in Himachal and Uttarakhand, yes, they are. And not only because of tourism or the conversion, but also because of climate change. Because as I mentioned, the foraging is not synchronized with flowering, and the flowering is not if flowering is not happening, so from where will they get the nectar?
Sorry. So Kirtika also has a question. What are some practical examples where human presence has unexpectedly reshaped ecosystems, either positively or negatively, in your field experience?
Human presence, if I talk about positively, I'll take one example only of Rudraprayag, and I'll give example of positively and negatively from that only. Positively is people have been practicing those traditional practices, although they don't know the scientific aspect or scientific point of view of pollination. But from generations, from their tested and like trial and tested methods, they come to certain list of practices. Okay, if we are growing this crop in this pattern, next time we have to grow this crop to reduce our dependence on manure and to attract more pollinators, because the area I was studying is rain-fed area, which means most of the agriculture is dependent on rainfall. Despite that, through their traditional knowledge, they are able to get so many pollinators, just not in number but also in diversity, because it is difficult, comparatively difficult, to get pollinators in monsoon. But I was there in June, July, and initial days of August, and I saw like huge diversity of pollinators, butterflies, bees, bumblebees. So it's their traditional practices, we can say, which is positively related to the agro ecosystem there, which means agriculture ecosystem there. If I talk about negatively, I'll take the example of Himachal Pradesh. I was there in 2021, and in uh, near Ort Tunnel, I saw, like, due to the construction of tunnel, the kind of negative impact on the ecosystem was happening. Like, they were constructing the tunnel, and they have to remove trees, they have to remove the vegetation there, and just to stop soil erosion or any natural calamities like that, they were putting fencing. strong wire fencing. So they are, in that way, they are negatively impacting. And also, currently I'm in Pune, and I've seen multiple places where the Western Ghats are eroding because of the construction of tunnels, because of construction of apartments, buildings, or working spaces. So, like, it has um affected, it is affecting negatively, and also the local or the native species are moving away because their habitat is losing, because of which these species, for example pigeon, crow, which get acclimatized to the urban areas, are dominating. So the species which we don't need much, they are dominating the ecosystem, like pigeon and crow that I gave example, and the native flora and fauna are losing away. So this is the example that come into my mind while we talk about this.
Okay, so I don't think we have any more questions.
Hmm.
So thank you everyone for attending this webinar. And thank you, Ms. Agarwal, for a thoughtful and engaging session and for clearly illustrating how everyday human actions ripple across ecosystems to land and to sea. The recording of this webinar will be shared shortly. Thank you everyone for your time and participation. We look forward to welcoming you to our webinars.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.